Hello folks, WayneZ0207 here. Before this episode begins, I would like to put out a disclaimer. Since I was the only one hosting this episode alongside the guest, I had the bright idea to record in the Treehouse, which led to a defective recording for Season 2, Episode 12. Now, I apologize for any inconvenience that this may cause. To make it up, I'm going to try and bring on someone special for Season 2, Episode 13. That being said, enjoy the skits, enjoy the rest of this episode, if you can. Enjoy!
About time, Anakin.
Obi-Wan, I've been studying the ways of the Force.
Wait a minute, who's been successfully encouraging you to do this? You're always impulsive.
You should check him out, Master. His name was like Wayne something.
Well, whoever this is, he studies like a Jedi Master. I'm glad you found a good role model, Anakin. Now let's go. We have to fight General Grievous on Tatooine.
Yes, Master.
In a tight crunch for scholar ships. Trying to get around a writer's block for your net video. We've got you covered. Welcome to Life of a Content Creating College Student. With your hosts, WayneZ0207 and Charlotte Wade.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. My name is Colton W. Hurst, also known as Wayne-D0207 on the internet. I'm your host for Life of a Content Creating College Students, Season 2, Episode 12. Sadly, folks, we have had yet another mass absenteeism. Our co-host had matters to attend to, and I'm afraid our recurring guest, Zoe Smiley, is out sick. So I'm the only one that's hosting the show this time around. But thankfully enough, I'm not alone. Otherwise, I would have been recording at home. Introducing my guest for this episode that was shouted out in the prior episode, Professor Courtney Talbot.
Hello there. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, absolutely. So I'm sure you've seen a few episodes of this podcast before, and you weren't expecting to get invited on this soon, right?
It definitely was not.
So this is definitely going to be a new experience for you, I'd say. Absolutely amazing experience, I would say.
I hope so.
Are you familiar with the format of the episode?
You told me a little bit about it. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In lieu of the co-host and the recurring guest. So go ahead and fire away.
All right. So, question 1. What are 2 things that went well in the last 2 weeks?
Okay, so following the recording of Season 2, Episode 1, I did get to have coffee with Storm Chaser 541, my sister, at Bravada Brewhouse to celebrate her birthday. So it was a bit of a nice treat for me, as well as her. We caught up on old times, recent events, and even family matters. We've made some plans for the summer, but not every single plan per se. I mean, summertime's coming up, and the weather's getting a lot warmer. Yeah, and even in the accounting room, it's getting a little bit warmer too. The rest of these plans will be subject to change. Regardless, it was nice getting to head out to relax on a Friday before taking the following digital marketing chapter quiz and the expert session quizzes for chapters 1 and 2. It's not every day that one gets to head out for coffee, or in my case, a mocha. Now, those of you who know me, I'm not a big fan of pure black coffee. I know many college students are introduced to coffee when they first enter OIT, when they go in for their orientations. But let's be honest, some of us, we're not keen on pure black coffee. Now that's the kind of stuff that my dad drinks, and he's always keen for that, especially if it's his own coffee, but not me. I prefer my mochas.
I used to drink my coffee black.
Wait, you drink your coffee black?
I do, but I never used to. I used to use cream, never sugar, but now I black. That must mean I'm kind of old now, huh?
I guess it's true that our taste buds do adjust as we age. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And I think my dad said something around the same lines. So, yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from.
What's another thing that went well for you?
Another thing that went well is, okay, so this is an extreme exception. I'll provide these updates. When I explicitly stated to look for updates regarding the copyright of this podcast, as well as my works on my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube community tabs. But the registration of this podcast, and which is confirmed from the Library of Congress, has started. If you want the full update, please read the post that I recently made on those feeds. And you've done pretty good on reading those, haven't you?
Yes, I've tried my best.
Yep, and I'm sure you have. I mean, it's only recently that we connected on LinkedIn, wasn't it?
That's correct, and I will admit I'm not very great about keeping track of things on LinkedIn, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep track of so many things at once. I mean, compare that to multiple social medias, including that of YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it all, Colton. I really don't.
Yeah, but what really matters was how I kept track of time, and believe it or not, all that minute entering that I've been doing for each of my courses, Professor Sandra Bailey actually introduced me to this idea. And by the way, please make sure you're speaking close to the microphone.
Okay, I apologize. Yes.
I'm so glad that the format of each accounting course has been retained. She did retire.
Why mess with a good thing?
Yes, you've done well to keep the formatting up.
Well, thank you, Colton.
And I'm not sure if it's going to be the same for when we do get another professor like Sandra Bailey, like full time, but we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, I'm even unsure what's going to happen regarding the accounting courses.
You and me both. It seems like an ever-changing situation, so we will find out as things progress.
And backtracking on on my multiple social medias. Please subscribe to the channel and follow the podcast on my social media platforms, as well as share this podcast with your friends. The more we share, the bigger audience we can cater to, meaning the more available our knowledge and insights become available for college students and content creators from all over the internet.
Ready for the next question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure this may seem like us rushing through things. So if I'm going way too fast, please feel free to let me know.
I think we're going at a good pace right now. So, Colton, how did these things help you grow, and what did you gain out of them?
With the upcoming registration of this episode, all of us can be rest assured that the original material is protected no matter what. I can utilize the registration as a testament that works of any size and quantity can be registered if you put your mind to it. If you're a creator and wish to protect your videos and content, and you have not registered your works already, register them now. You will save yourself a lot of hassle later on. And Professor Sandra Bailey did touch on intellectual property and accounting and spreading the copyright across various years. If you have experienced knowledge on that specific topic, could you possibly expand upon it?
Unfortunately, Colton, I don't have much more experience on that, but I'm glad that Sandra taught you some things, and I'm glad that you were able to protect all of your content. I'm really happy to hear that.
Well, I haven't gotten every single registration certificate yet. I'm still waiting on 25 more, folks. So it's going to be a long, long time, in which if you've read the updates, that's essentially what I've basically summarized.
So what is one setback you've come across in the past 2 weeks?
My recent lessons in managerial accounting proved to be a little bit confusing, folks. During the reading quizzes, the calculations were, I'd have to say, a bit vague, and I couldn't find the right combination of mathematical operations to utilize to find the answers to the mathematical problems in the reading quizzes. Now, I'm not sure if this is because I'm reading the book on the electronic version rather than the accounting binder loose leaf version of the book that I've had to carry around in the first term, but I mean, something's not right. I mean, well, during the review session, Charlie did say that this unit, this midterm, is the hardest out of all of them. And can you actually confirm this?
Yes, I think they are correct.
And luckily enough, I have a good old schedule planned out for tomorrow to take care of the accounting midterm as well as any other responsibilities I might have.
Way to go, Colton.
Because there's basically there's a huge time window in the morning. Usually I get up at 6, my dad takes me in, and I usually get on my studies ASAP, and the rest is history.
I'm glad you have a good plan.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to sheer luck on my second attempt on one of the quizzes. However, I needed to clarify those concepts with my professor and the student instructor, Charlie, who was shouted out in a prior episode of this podcast. And believe it or not, they were actually shouted out for actually providing me with an economics study guide. Early in the term when I was studying economics, and they've done the same thing occasionally every now and then, at least until later in the term, which I finally got the hang of things. But
This has been an excellent resource, and I am so happy to have them as my student instructor this term.
yeah, anyways, fortunately, there's still quite a ways to go before the end of the term. And plus, the accounting midterm, from what I've seen, basically follows the same format. So, taking into account that I follow the homework closely, it should not be too much of what I would deem a hassle to make sure my homework balances, as well as the midterm. I've been working with my adjunct professor, who is with us today, and the student instructor to prepare for the midterm, which I may or may not have taken at the time of this recording before this episode was uploaded.
No doubt you'll do excellent in the midterm, Colton.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just basically ready to get this out of the way, just like I've gotten all the podcast registration applications out of the way today. Today I actually got the last 4 in process, or at least in the viewer's terms, the day this was recorded.
Very nice.
So yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about anyone stealing this episode and getting away with it.
Glad to hear it. Okay, so what is one thing you can take away from this? And how can you turn this setback into an accomplishment?
Always read the fine print carefully. And this is true for any scenario. Read whatever is in front of you carefully and ensure you understand the context of the situation. Without context, making an accurate assumption or educated guess is practically impossible. And I had a feeling that's what I probably wasn't doing for the most part. I mean, I read the question, it was just vague, I tell ya. If you rush head on into things, that's what gets you in the most trouble. I I was basically in overdrive mode when I did all those reading quizzes.
You were a little overdrive those 2 days, though.
And I'm really hoping that this doesn't repeat in the future, because let's be honest, I mean, this year's been really crazy, folks. And now for our random fact of the day. According to the record holder for the tallest waffle stack, Guinness World Records has a 40-page document defining what a waffle is.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Waffle House has. I mean, I've only went to Waffle House once or twice, but I don't know why Waffle House came into my head. But yeah, fans have been speculating that Waffle House could become a Tekken 8 stage. But the problem is, it's only relatable to Americans for the street brawls, and so. Not to mention, what would the folks at Bandai Namco do to potentially be able to get the license to use the Waffle House name?
They have to jump through a lot of hoops, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, how about question 3? What did you do as a college student the past 2 weeks?
And I'm sure that Professor Talbot can recall this first part. In Accounting 201, we've been learning about cost accounting and how to factor in direct materials, labor, and manufacturing overhead to determine the cost of goods manufactured, as well as knowing how those costs are accumulated and assigned. So basically the first step of the process is obviously all the costs have to be accumulated, and calculating all those costs can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're trying to sort out direct from indirect, but it's quite a lengthy process. And most of the accounting problems that you will encounter, for the most part, if you're taking accounting in any accounting class, the episode note had a bit of a typo. It's Accounting 203. But in any accounting class, like in Accounting 203, it will usually specify if it's direct or indirect labor. Otherwise, you can just assume that all raw materials are direct.
Very good summation of that.
Yep. For week 2, we learned about job cost systems. And in the week this episode was recorded, we learned about process cost systems. Job cost accounting usually involves distinguishable characteristics, whereas process cost accounting involves mass production. We use job costs for job cost accounting, while we use production cost reports for process cost accounting. For those of you currently taking Accounting 203, if you're not careful, the differences between the two can throw you off balance, which is why if you're reading the 14th edition of the Waygogs Accounting book, the page you should turn to would be 21.5. I actually can confirm this because I had to read the book myself, and I'm actively using it to help me get through my coursework.
And we know you have a much better memory than I do.
And I will display what I learned in MIS 225 on the next question for the sake of relevancy, to not only the content creation side of this episode, but also to keep the suspense building up. In MCT 335, we began experimenting a little more with Microsoft projects. We learned about setting predecessor tasks as well as summary tasks, and we were hinted at milestone tasks. However, I've been experimenting with Microsoft projects since I got it, so I've had a head start, which also goes in line with what I've been doing for writing 227C, as Oregon Tech calls it. Not only have I been planning out for the project I plan to work on behalf of you folks, but I've also been at work typing up my technical proposal for the project. I haven't been creating many reels or shorts since things are getting chaotic, but I am going to leak some information for those of you who made it this far in the episode. Think of this as a special treat. The project I am working on is not going to be a documentary film, but rather a website. I plan to have a team of 5 now, consisting of myself, aka the PM of this project, an admin expert, an SEO team of 2, and 1 IT person. So that basically makes it 3 of us. 1 of us had recently backed out. Overall, this means 5 people will be involved in this project. I will not be spilling any more details at this moment. When I implemented a summary task in my project file for this special project, I found it will take 49 work days to finish the project, and the project will start this month, April 2024. I'm going to leave it to you to speculate as to when the release date of what I'm working on is going to be. Believe it or not, I actually did pull off something similar to this major project in the form of my documentary film, The Advanced Technological Philosophy. And so it's basically combining elements of a bunch of my courses and applying it into an actual project. Moving onward. In Business 307, we began utilizing formulas for calculating prices such as markup, gross margin, and the VTC of the customers, consisting of positive and negative differentiation values. In the future, this will prove to be helpful when I begin releasing merchandise for you folks. It's going to be exciting.
Well, what lessons were taught, and how can you apply or enhance your studies based on your experience?
Projects. Since it's not part of the Microsoft 365 suite and is a different software altogether, will be a bit tricky to manage as you can add many layers to a project as I learned in MGT 335. If you put in the time, though, it's no big issue. Just be sure you don't overextend and add too many layers.
Okay. Well, so what did you do as a content creator the past 2 weeks?
So I've been watching on the sidelines since I haven't gotten my streams back up and running yet. I know you've been waiting extensively, Professor Talbot.
Oh, yes.
But I found something ghastly that affects all gaming creators, including myself. As of April 8th, all online services for the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS have shut down. So what this means is the shutdown of online services for the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS has had a significant impact on content creators, especially those who focus on gaming content for these platforms. It means that creators can no longer showcase or play in the online world or purchase DLC content in games from these consoles, limiting their content options and potentially affecting their audience engagement. Now, I imagine this is probably due to Nintendo needing to reduce their costs, as these are, there was an accounting term for it. It's an accrued expense. That's what it is.
See, that makes sense, I guess, but a lot of people are upset about this.
Yes, absolutely. If you are hoping to take a blast of the past with online gaming and play those games specifically or download any DLC, well, you are unfortunately out of luck, as you can only access offline material. Almost. An open source software known as Pretendo has the honor of preserving classic games like Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Wii U Edition, and many others. Pretendo plays a crucial role in preserving classic games by providing an alternate platform for gamers to access and play other titles that are no longer available through official online services. This open source software ensures that these games can still be enjoyed by fans, allowing them to relive nostalgic moments and experience the timeless gameplay that made these titles so popular. Use the link at https://pretendo.network/DOS/install and follow the instructions to safely install Pretendo on your 3DS or Wii U. There will be links in the description. There's also a YouTube tutorial you can check out from a creator named FunkyScott47. Nintendo may be notorious for handing out cease and desist letters as well as copyright claims and restricting access to old classic titles, but the fans are even more notorious for rebelling and fighting back. However, it is important to note that using Pretendo may have potential legal implications. Nintendo has a history of taking action against unauthorized use of their intellectual property, including cease and desist letters, and pursuing legal action. Therefore, users need to understand the risks involved and make an informed decision before installing and using Pretendo. However, now all of our gaming creators can have no fear, as Pretendo is now available to preserve online play for enthusiastic Nintendo fans of the Wii U and 3DS.
How can you improve content such as this based on your experience?
In addition, when using a Wii U or 3DS emulator, I can utilize Pretendo to gain access to online service and play online PvP matches against other players. This way, the full experience of that nostalgic games we know and love is replicated. With Pretendo, I can experience the classic games online, as if they were still really released. However, the sad thing is, I still don't have my equipment. So you're going to have to wait until I get the webcam, capture card, etc., back. I'm sorry, folks. And now our quote of the day is accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it and not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. And this quote was by Eckhart Tolle.
I like that one. I think it's an important thing to remember.
Especially when it comes to the Accounting 203 students. Many of us, I know many of us had struggled to get Q's on those reading quizzes. And so this lesson is actually a pretty important one. And one that is pretty fitting for this episode.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so what college events or club meetings did you attend the past 2 weeks, Colton?
Okay, so there were two events this week. The first of the two was the Student Art Collective in week 2. This event gave students the creative space to paint on hexagons and create stunning art of all kinds. I took the liberty of using what I was given to recreate the Wayne D0207 logo from scratch. And I did have the rights to do this, by the way. Those of you who may have seen it can consider this something around the lines of a calling card. Hopefully you caught the Persona 5 reference. Dun dun dun! But anyways, everyone made amazing art pieces, and in due time, I'm sure that everything that the students made will be put up for display. Second, throughout the week of week 3, we recognize Stress Awareness Month, which would recognize stresses of all kinds. Throughout the week this was recorded, everyone had the opportunity to stop by the Treehouse and write something for others to see that is comforting and supportive. Both events were a nice way for me to slow down and dabble in a little bit of art and send positive vibes, respectively. And I feel that was probably what I needed, because when it comes to accounting and making journal entries, these can get a little bit tedious. When you went through accounting as a college student, would you say the same thing?
Yes, I definitely would. And it's really important to engage the other side of your brain that's creative and makes things. Yes, accounting can be very boring oftentimes. So I'm really glad you did some art.
And plus, from what I've heard on a figurative standpoint, logic and creativity, they're basically the antithesis of one another. And I think accounting falls on the logic side of things, definitely.
It does. It does. It's nice to take a break and do some art and be creative.
I mean, learning about bank reconciliation, and I'm trying to think of it. Even doing what was referred to as the cash flow statement.
Yes.
That was one of the most trickiest things of all.
Yeah. Accounting is not, it's not very exciting. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of boring. So again, I'm really glad that you're offsetting some of this with some art.
Right, absolutely. And my buddy, GL Viking Fisherman 63, his father was an accountant. So I definitely have some connections to the accounting world.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well does this help you get involved with Oregon Tech or climate community, and why?
I would say these events deserve a rating of 9. I have to say, although both events were an opportunity to get creative in their own right, it was tough replicating the Wayne Z0207 logo to complete accuracy. Some leave behind a thicker line than I expected, so the cracks appear bigger than they actually are. The amount of brushes we had was just fine, although thinner brushes for tiny lines would have been appreciated. And we're out of time, folks. Oh my goodness. We were looking like we were going to finish a little bit early, but good thing we had some placeholder conversation to keep us occupied. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go straight to our scholarly shoutouts and creator credit for the episode. As always, first scholarly shoutout goes out to Estefania Ortiz. Early in week 3, while I was at the Stress Awareness Month event, I had a kind student employee at the Treehouse ask me if they could use this podcast to promote a college-wide event. Knowing the context of the situation and knowing that they had asked for permission, I gladly handed it to them and asked them to give me proper credits. Estefania completely abided by the Creative Commons license. I commend all creators regarding the use of my videos and content. This Oregon Tech student has been a shining star representing the power that originality and proper credit to the original creators bring to the world of digital media and online entertainment. By asking for permission and giving proper credits, she has done the Wayne Z0207 community, as well as the public, a service. Not only is she making this podcast more accessible, but she is also in full compliance with Section 17 of the United States Code. Thank you for doing the right thing, Estefania. And then our second scholarly shout out goes out to Marie. Marie runs the Duffy's Coffee Shop at Oregon Tech's Irvine Hall, whipping up espresso and coffee, and serving lunch to the students, staff, and faculty who either have class or work or want to meet up. What makes Marie stand out from Sodexo's staff is her keen focus on hospitality for everyone, even the students. She's given me plenty of helpful advice these past few days, and I couldn't be more grateful for the safe space that she gives us students. Marie, you have our thanks and the shout outs. And now on to our creator credits. And some of this may be a little bit unfamiliar territory for you, but bear with me. Our first creator credit goes out to Jack Septic Guy. This is another legend that has touched the hearts of many of our childhoods. He is notorious for creating a Happy Wheels Let's Play series that lasted a full 200 episodes, which recently came out as a movie. And it's a long movie. It's over 10 hours. In a recent upload, he talked about career uncertainty and retiring from YouTube. In that video, he explained that although he plans to retire, he doesn't plan to retire right away. He has also talked about it with MatPat, as he indicated in the video. This is a major turning point for the career of Jacksepticeye, who is also known in the real world as Sean. Sean McLaughlin has come a long way from the 2010s when he started his YouTube career and has amassed an amazing community alongside the likes of Markiplier, Dan TDM, and other popular YouTubers on the internet, and is responsible for putting together Thankmas every year. Thank you for all your contributions, Jack, and whatever you decide to do, we will support your decision 100%. What an amazing legend, isn't that?
He sounds like a great guy.
And we are going to miss Professor Sandra Bailey too, aren't we?
We are. I have been able to see her outside of OIT, and yes, she will be greatly missed.
Yes, a great legend regardless.
Oh, definitely.
And then our second creator credit goes out to Devilster. Devilster is yet another Tekken YouTuber on the internet. He's notorious for playing as Jin Kazama or his counterpart, Devil Jin. Devilster utilized combos very well and kept applying the pressure. In some of the matches, he even cut it close to the time limit when facing off against tough opponents, nearly resulting in a timeout. And I noticed that I do believe his name is Arsenal Ty. Arsenal Ty actually did some trolling videos. And so, that being said, he cut it close and turned up. But to this day, he's still maintaining the highest Tekken rank he could get and kicking tail like no other Tekken player. So for this reason, and also to support small creators, he gets his last creator credit for this episode. So thank you so much for tuning in. We better get out of here because my phone battery is running low and my dad's waiting for me. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, there will be disappointments in life, but we humans have the power to turn those disappointments into accomplishments. This is Colton W. Hurst, aka Windy027, fourth wall breaking, one man army, signing out. Good night.
Special thanks go to Oregon Institute of Technology, celebrating 75 years of applied learning in Oklahoma candies. This has been a fourth wall breaking one man army production.